Good afternoon. I'd like to share with you the takeaways from yesterday's webinar on the subject of new misconduct, challenges and solutions for investigating as we move to a new normal. So our audience yesterday comprised, for the most part, business leaders, human resources leaders, and workplace investigators. And for each of these groups, we identified 3 specific takeaways or action items. So for the business leaders, we encouraged them to take a look at their vulnerabilities and the risks of misconduct. To help them in that regard, we showed them the insider threat model and the fraud triangle, with the suggestion that they can use these tools to understand why misconduct has occurred and also to help them detect misconduct. The second point is we encourage them to have conversations with their employees to identify the unseen issues. So yesterday I talked about invisible misconduct, things that people have not necessarily seen or the business leaders haven't seen or employees are not in a position to bring forward. And the third point, we encourage business leaders to seriously think about their best investments. I showed them the anatomy of misconduct model, which identifies the costs of an incident from the beginning of the incident right through to restoration. It's far greater than the cost of an investigation itself, and what they need to consider in terms of how best they want to spend their money to ensure that they have a workplace that is free from harassment, violence, wrongdoing, fraud, discrimination, you name it. Let's move on to the human resource folks. So for the human resource leaders, we talked about the importance of them understanding the current risks and the current trends and communicating those with their clients, i.e. the business owners. I introduced the welfare manager model. So this is not my own creation. I was actually on a really good webinar last week hosted by the Australasian Association of Workplace Investigators. And there's a lady named Angela Stoller. She is with the Department of Justice and Community Safety in Melbourne, Australia. And she talked about this really interesting model that ensures all sides of an investigation have a good appreciation of what's going on and they can get their questions answered. And the last thing for human resources leaders is to help their frontline managers do their job. So I've seen many situations where an investigation, an incident could have been avoided if the managers had done a better job or had been better trained to handle a particularly difficult situation. Let's move on to the workplace investigators. So the takeaway for them was to, if they haven't had interactions with their usual clients recently, is to reach out to the clients, to educate their clients on some of the new risks that they're going to be facing now because of COVID-19, because we're not out of the pandemic, because we're transitioning. Take advantage of what they heard in the webinar yesterday and in other webinars to make sure their clients are fully prepared. Talk to them about ensuring that the clients have certainty around the processes involved in investigations. And finally, that I encourage the workplace investigators to be ready to adapt if they would like to, because there's going to be all sorts of different types of investigations that they conceivably could be brought into. So those are the highlights of the takeaways from yesterday. It was a good session. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And as usual, I could have talked for many hours. So if you want to access the webinar itself and the slides, the people who hosted it, eyesight.com, they'll be posting it on their website in a matter of a couple days. So you can check out their website. It's smalli-sight.com. And of course, at any point you wish to talk about any concerns or challenges you have in relation to preventing or resolving workplace harassment, violence, wrongdoing, or fraud, please contact us at Integrity by McCarthy Incorporated. That's integritybymccarthy.ca. Thank you so much.